Hello, my name is Cyrus Ferrani. I'm the VP of Marketing at Concentric AI. I'm here with Matt Joubert from Element. And Matt, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself.
Hi, my name is Matthew Joubert. I'm the Vice President of Infrastructure, Security, and Operations for Element.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about Element, the business, and why data security is important, and particularly in your role, why it's so important.
Of course. So I guess to take a step back, it does a few things. Element really got started as an actuarial firm. And so actuaries deal with people's pension plans and retirement. Actuaries have a need to do their jobs a lot of data, and sometimes this data can go back quite far. As you can imagine, a pensioner can live for a long time, and we need to have those records as long as a person's alive, and then for some time after that as well for audit defense. And so what this means is anybody who handles pension data is forced to amass significant amount of data. And a lot of it comes through various means, through boxes that you have to scan and do OCR. It comes through acquisitions. We always joke, but there's one rule in the pension industry, and that's the data you're getting is usually poor quality. The other business that we're in is called TPA. And so really this is a third party administrator. And so it's a fund administrator. And really the way to think about that is like an insurance company. And so you might get a health claim from a dentist or from a pharmacy, and we pay those claims. And some of our customers, whether they be a union or a government, they're the members of their plans are able to do claim adjudication through Element. We also do, not for the individual, but we do investment consulting. It's more for the trusts that we work with. So we also handle a decent amount of financial information as far as markets are concerned and what things are doing. And then, of course, we have our contact centers and everything else we're trying to do, which is really a big push into the technology space. We build pension administration software and claim adjudication software in-house. And so that has created an ecosystem of data, a lot of it very sensitive, through those kind of key pillars of our business. The second factor is that we acquire other businesses as we're growing, which,
Right.
and an acquisition is a great place to be, but it's also, I mean, anyone who's ever been through any mergers and acquisitions knows, like, you've got your due diligence, then it's yours. And so now you have to figure out what it is that you bought. And one of the challenges that I experience is trying to figure out what data is and where this data is. And so most of us
Yeah.
can pop open a database and look at a diagram and talk to some devs and you get your answers. But what do you do when there's 3 million files on a file server somewhere? That's really been one of the things that drew me to Concentric, is that scenario. I'm able to point it at databases, at file servers, and it runs and it crunches and it gives me back a very good overview. I couldn't call it 100%, but I'm sure feels in the 90s in terms of what things are. And it really allows me to start doing things like looking for files that have passwords in them or files that are shared with way too many people. One of the other things that I didn't see coming when we started with this software, it certainly wasn't, and maybe it was naive of me, but it wasn't part of the selection criteria, was data retention. And through the integration of Concentric, I've learned that it's super good at figuring out when files are accessed and how old they are. And so, again, through these mountains of files that I'm getting, I'm suddenly finding myself able to have a data retention policy. And so that was a serious game changer for me. And So that's kind of why I was drawn in.
And as far as the foundational question, it's not even we provide access governance, but it's just what is the data? It's a simple question that you're using us for.
Yeah, we're SOC 2, right? We are going through our SOC 2 program. We've gone through our audits, and we don't need to do this to achieve a SOC 2. There's no requirement. All I have to do is classify the systems that hold our data, and I'm compliant. But the executive team at Element are very security conscious. And when this idea came forward, they jumped on it. And the reason why they jumped on it is because when you look at it and you start to interact with the tool, it really just feels like you should be doing this anyway. It kind of, once you see it and use it, it's like, this is the right thing to be doing. And so even though SOC doesn't strictly require it, we are able to be more effective at data governance. And we are able to tell our customers that we're more effective at data governance. We're able to tell the insurance companies that give us our cyber and risk insurance that we're more effective. And this is a key pillar in our security program, and one that I get use out of every day.
Now, as far as the data retention policy that you mentioned, you do it differently by the types of data, whether it's HR data, finance data. How are you doing that?
Good question. So everyone knows more or less you got to keep finance data for some years, depending on your jurisdiction, but let's just call it 7. And you got to kind of keep pension data forever, for lack of a better word. And then there's your actual finance data. Those have different rules. And then, there might be different requirements based on a specific customer. They might have something in a contract. But generally speaking, our data retention policies there's kind of 3 of them. There's one for pension, there's one for health claims, and then there's one for our finance, kind of general corporate stuff. I'm able to manage them all with the Concentric.
And as far as the implementation and deployment, how did that go? I mean, there's certainly different types of data stuff that's proprietary to your business. How did that classification go in making sure that everything was accurately classified and labeled?
So when we did the demo with Concentric, it was like, plug us into your cloud. And so we plugged you into SharePoint, and that thing went fast. Like it was fast. For the on-prem stuff, we first deployed it on a cloud VM, and it was slow. And the reason why is just honestly, the VM was undersized and it wasn't powerful enough to do the crunching and moving the data that it needed to. But we had a server inside that we were running a hypervisor on. And so I deployed a Linux box there and ran your installation script. And since then, because it's got enough power and it's on the same network, it's been able to make really good progress, and it was able to crunch through everything and actually complete. The thing that I like about it is, as I don't know how to say this, but when I install software on-prem, and I've been in IT for over 20 years, and so I've installed and set up a lot of systems. I've got a background in Linux and Unix before that, so it's, these sorts of things are not new to me. And outside of a few gems, smaller projects that maybe are easy to bootstrap, it's rare for me to see a vendor product going so smoothly. And I run the script, and I think the reason why it works so well is it looks like you're using Rancher. So you basically throw up a K3S installation, deploy your manifests, and the thing just starts working. It was one of the smoothest installations I had, and I liked that it was using cloud native technology. I was able to understand it immediately and know what it was doing.
And what was your experience, as you were looking at other vendors? What was your experience evaluating other vendors versus evaluating Concentric AI, and how our deployment model kind of fits your business?
Yeah. So I had an interesting experience. The company's been growing since I've been here. I've been here 3 years, and I would say we've tripled in size in those last 3 years. And so when I started creating this security program, obviously there's some pillars that I'm looking for. I need something that patches, something that trains people, something that sends phishing emails and that sort of thing. But when it came to the selection criteria, I didn't really know where to go. So I did what most people do is I talked to some friends, people in the industry, I go on Google and I start reading through this report and I see Concentric and I called them because I was curious. And what I found was an incredibly engaged team. They listened, they worked with me on price, they were engaged in every step of the way. And um, not a lot of vendors actually deliver on that. Everyone says that they got their CSM or whoever, and they're going to come and then you spend all this money and time, and then you're still kind of hobbling along. It's not the way this went. Every step of the way, every week, while this was getting going, I had people on the phone that knew what they were talking about. Sometimes it was a founder, sometimes it was a VP, sometimes it wasn't. But Concentric has always made me feel like an important customer, even though I'm working probably for one of the smaller businesses they're dealing with. So to me, that points to a service-oriented team, and I have enjoyed working with them tremendously.
Now, as far as where you've deployed so far, you talked about SharePoint, you talked about on-prem. Now, where could you see it possibly going into the future? Data warehouses, things like that,
Yeah,
that you could do some more data discovery on.
you've got it. It's data discovery. So like many people who operate cloud services, we've got some S3 buckets out there and Azure blobs, and we've got data and databases. All that is next for consumption. And then really anywhere we can tie it in. As an example, we found that some of our users have their own Dropbox account. And, I'm sure every security person has a love-hate relationship with Dropbox because it seems to appear.
Yeah,
Luckily, it's a pretty good platform. But what we did is once we found out, we were able to work with Dropbox and claim ownership of the domain, and then bring all those accounts in-house under our control and governance. And then we were able to plug Concentric into it, figure out what was going on.
well, thank you for talking about your deployment. Thank you for talking about your experience with us. We definitely look forward to growing this relationship with Element. And I appreciate your time, Matt.